Recording. Screen share.
All right, I think I.
By the way, I guess these were left here yesterday. You might as well take the rest of them. These are all educational pamphlets on the show music. Shift music meaning content.
Hey, Nolan, can you see our PowerPoint by any chance?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. So Rebecca, you're on. If you want to just start yourself, you're good to go.
Yes, let's do it right here. Come on. Tell it one black. Try this again. Yeah, I think the Wi-Fi is being really funky.
It took us an hour to get into.
Oh, geez. So I was like, this is not fancy stuff. This is just some words. But this is gonna be frustrating. This verse here was up and then I went to go full screen. Oh, no, it's just blank. Yeah, I won't try to go full screen next time.
Let's start you first.
And if not, we could just
All right.
go for it.
Are you coming and doing it out of Chrome?
Yeah.
Ball it down.
Yes. But see, and it says, do you want to wait or exit page? Actually, let's just do exit page for a second. What if we do? Let's close that. Let's just do this. All right, I'm not going to go full page because I don't want to do.
Perfect.
I don't want to deal with this. All right, so then let's go back to their Zoom.
Yeah. So. And you should be good to go.
All right. Let's just do this a little bit. Make it a little easier to see. All right, so now that we finally got it moving, it doesn't look as pretty, but it's fine. So as you all know, you're here for the portfolio reviews that we're having for Manifest, right? So in case you have not realized, oh, I was going black. The reviews are going to be during Manifest, during this class, basically. So it is the last day of class, May 12th, from 10 a.m. to 12:30 in the photo studios. But really thinking about what the portfolio review is, the whole idea is you will be in the studio space, the second floor of 1104. You will have a table. That table is yours to have all of your materials, have your portfolio, your marketing materials, all the things I'll talk about in a minute. But the idea is that you will be sitting at a table with your work, and then photographers and professionals, agents, reps, folks from the art industry will be walking around and coming and stopping and talking to you. So you get to sit in one place. Folks are going to be walking around and deciding who to stop and chat with. Just a kind of real basic of how it's going to lay out. But really what it is, opportunity for you to show your work, to get your materials ready, but also to get feedback on your work. And then also just to make some connections, right? There's a wide variety of folks that are going to come to this event. Last year we had 30 students and we had 30 professionals that showed up. So the previous few years when we did this all virtual, you were paired one-on-one. So you only got to meet with, say, 3 folks for a one-on-one review. Last year, I think most folks talked to like 10 different people. So it is a good opportunity to get a wide variety of feedback and make a wide variety of connections. Like I said, the vast majority are other photographers, but there are gallery folks, there's folks that hire photographers, agents, reps, art directors, things like that. So it's kind of both about feedback and building that connection. I always say it's not technically a job fair, though a lot of folks do end up getting freelance work out of it, maybe assisting, maybe just making connections for via digital tech, or for a full-time job. A lot of times like POW studios, they often hire photographers from that event. But I was saying, alum just reached out that said that she got laid off at Pow Studio, so maybe they're not doing so great right now. Thinking about how to prep for it. So that's really what we want to talk about today, is like getting you all ready for the show. It's just about a little less than a month away. So things that you want to be doing now is really kind of prepping your work, right? So that's why I brought some of those books for you all, but really making sure that you have this cohesive portfolio. Again, I know you're working on this in your courses, but really making sure that it's edited and sequenced. That's the biggest thing, is kind of that fine tune, make sure that it is ready to go when someone's going to be able to look through it. And it has that sequence, that cohesive look and flow. It's not just kind of here's 2 or 3 random projects, right? Kind of putting it all together. So you do want to determine what the best presentation is. So it can be a variety of things. It could be a book. It could be a physical book. It could be a box of exhibition quality prints. Or it could be a digital presentation. If you're going to do a digital presentation, we really recommend that folks utilize Issue. And Verser has a link to folks to how to utilize Issue. We'll talk about it more in a moment. But what that is a way to upload your work, and it kind of does a mock of a book. So that you can do spreads, you can kind of play with different layouts. But it's really easy to look through. You don't want to just have like a PDF or things where there's going to be a variety of sizes. It's something that, again, really kind of mimics the how an actual book would look like, because we really want to think about this finished, polished product, the sequencing and the editing of your images. So it could be something like that. If you are doing it through Issue, so again, thinking about, are you going to have a tablet? Are you going to have a laptop? What is this going to look like? What is your physical thing going to sit on that table? How are people going to see your work? How are they going to interact with that work? So that's the biggest thing that you probably all are going to want to think about now, if you haven't already started thinking about that. Yeah.
Does that mean like one of the others, or you know, can have both?
You can have both. I think the biggest thing to think about too is that thinking about folks' timeframes is that they might not get through both. But yeah, if you have maybe 2 different bodies of work that you want to showcase, and one makes sense to have nice kind of exhibition prints, and one is going to be something on a tablet, that's fine. But just know that when someone comes up to you, they may or may not look through both. But yeah, certainly you can have a variety of things. You don't want to have too many things, but you can think about, okay, if this person's interested in this, I'll show them this. If they're interested in this, I'll show them that. Yeah.
So if you have prints, would it be smart to like put them on the website on your laptop, or would it still want to be that?
You can show your website. I just think that you want it for like the initial review. Sometimes you're having a conversation with someone and you're like, oh, and I also have this body of work here. And then you can bring up your website and show them that. But I think ideally your main portfolio should be something like Issue, just because a website, depending on your website, can get a little messy or harder to see like full screen. So it's really about like, they're there to look at your work as clear as possible. So websites are not out of the picture at all. But it's certainly, if you do, you want to make sure you have those websites where you can click on one image at a time and it's big, and full screen and things like that. Yeah.
Is there anything, like, would it be strange if like we had something with like information on it, in case we like, if they see our work and everything, just to kind of provide to them if they're interested?
Absolutely. So yeah, that's a whole other thing I'll talk about just more, but yeah, exactly. You're going to want to have your portfolio, but you're also want to have promo materials. You're going to have a business card. You're going to have information, how folks can find you and contact you. You know, that's going to have your name, your email address, your website, possibly your phone number if you're comfortable putting that on there. You're going to want to have that 100%, because the thing about these events is, again, these employers are walking in, these photographers are coming into the space, they're meeting with a bunch of folks. At the end of the day, how are they going to remember who they met with and who they were interested in and who they want to follow up with? Promo materials are super helpful, because yes, they want to be looking at your work, but then it just makes it easier to think through the next step. Because really also, that's what you're interested in, is the initial event, but then the next step. What are people, how are you going to build that connection? How are you going to get that job? How are you going to get that exhibition? You want to be able to follow up with people. So things to bring for your table is obviously, like I said, first and foremost is your portfolio, but also the leave behind postcard, business cards, resumes. Again, it's good to have all of these things on your table for folks to take with you. or for them to take with them. And the same thing when you're talking to somebody at the end of the conversation, if they haven't asked for a business card, because again, they want to be able to follow up with you, but you even more so want to be able to follow up with that person that you spoke with. And so if they don't have a business card, that's all the reason why you might want to have a notebook. A notebook is for you to take notes. So a notebook is to get that name and email or website of that person you spoke with, right? You want to follow up. Ideally, you would want to send a thank you to every person you talk to, right? That's how you build that connection beyond that one-time conversation. So if they don't have a card, hey, can you write down your contact information? But also the notebook is for you to take notes on what people are saying to you. You can get their first name scribbled down, but a few keynotes. Somebody's recommended that maybe you look at this other artist. Maybe they're recommended that you kind of change the sequence of your work or that you edit this out, things like that. Again, you're going to talk to a lot of folks in that time frame. You're not going to remember them all, and you may definitely not remember who said what. So it's okay to scribble down notes. So definitely think about having a notebook. If you are someone that does everything digital, does it on your phone, that's fine. But also, again, always make sure you tell people, hey, just so you know, I want to take some notes on my phone. So it doesn't look like you're distracted and texting somebody instead of listening to them. So like I said, really getting into the promo piece. So like I said, students, these are all just last year's students. You can have business cards, really straightforward. Sometimes people get logos that have your name and your information. Again, the very minimum is your name, your website, and your email. Some folks will put a phone number. Some folks, if you're not comfortable, that's fine. How are they going to go hold it? But a lot of folks may have all their information and then they might have a photograph on the back, right? And I know it's often hard for us to pick one photograph to put on our business card. So some people don't, or some people have like 10 different pictures they pick to put on the back of a business card. Some people do QR codes, right? I think that is something that is really helpful. I hear this from recruiters across industries, that any way that makes it easier for them to find you and contact you, that's easy fit as well. So for this one, for AJ for last year, he had a QR code on his business card, as well as, of course, still his name. You don't want just a blank QR code. So business cards and then postcards. To me, postcards are my favorite because that's a lot more helpful. Again, in these events where you're talking to a bunch of folks, I may have a bunch of business cards, but I still don't know who's who. Who did I work? What was their portfolio like? A postcard is going to have a mini portfolio of some of your best pictures and then your website and name information. So these are what I think are super helpful. And again, it can be a variety of even just different shapes. Some people did little booklets like this, just like a little paper booklet, but still always name information. Some people did bigger booklets. So there's lots of things. You put your QR code like AJ did also on the postcard. Some people even just did stickers. So there's a lot of different ways to think about whether you have a couple different pictures. Again, always making sure your name and information's on it, or do you do pick one picture at a time and you do 4 different pictures you print off for the postcard. But you definitely want to think about different ways that you're going to format this, because that is what is going to help you down the line. If people are saying, oh, I really like your work, I get to know who you are, remember your style. And even myself, like I like to keep it, I put up in my office. It's kind of free, easy artwork, right? So again, so I remember you, I get to see your work all the time. So you do want to spend some time thinking through this. Like I said, it doesn't have to be super design heavy if you're not into it. It's really about picking maybe just 1 or 2 pictures, putting your name and information. You can go very crazy with design. That's totally cool, but don't feel like that's too much of a stress. It's more just about making sure that it's accessible. Also resumes. Again, the biggest thing is your portfolio and a postcard. I would say those are the 2 biggest things. You also, again, business cards, easier to kind of keep in your pocket. And then resumes, I do think it's really helpful to have resumes because, again, there are some employers that will be actively hiring, not always, but there may be a few folks. And just to know, obviously, my job, I'm at the Career Center, so we have tons of resume resources. These are all on Handshake. I won't spend too much time any more time talking about it, but if you want any help with resumes, just send me an email, go on to Handshake. You all get an email from me every Wednesday full of jobs and internships. You can go through that to Handshake. You all have a Handshake account. Make appointments to get resume reviewed. If you're looking to get some help with that, I am happy to help. There's lots of resources for that. Yeah.
briefly, how do you feel about these resumes versus like a Harvard resume, just like layout wise?
First, I'm sorry, what resume?
Like a Harvard, just like normal business.
Yes, I am a firm believer that resumes should be really clean and readable. They don't need to be overly stylized. It's really just about that one-page document of your work experience. So yeah, they don't have to be crazy design. Again, I really like the simple Word documents. These are like the most design heavy I would do for a resume. Like you should really pick like one accent color a little bit. Sometimes folks do resumes in Canva and they get real funky and they're just hard to read. Yeah. You could do it through the DPC. You could send it out to like Vistaprint or other kind of third-party websites, things like that. All right. So other things about your actual materials and what you're going to want to bring and prepare is also preparing yourself. So again, if you're going to have a digital website using issue, things like just obviously think through, you have to bring all your things to the portfolio. You're just going to have a table. So making sure your desktop, your laptop is all ready and prepared, charged up. If you know, you're like my laptop, I didn't bring it because it dies really quickly. So I would make sure that I have a secured power ahead of time. You have an hour and a half. I've had a few students like, oh my God, the last 10 minutes, my thing is going to die. Make sure you're ready to go. Even if you don't need it now, you plug it in. So making sure you have it all tech ready. Outfit. You don't have to dress super fancy, but you really do want to think through how folks are going to meet you and interact with you. Put some thought into your outfit. I say like business casual, no suits, but no ripped t-shirts. Just make sure that it shows that maybe you thought through what you were going to wear today. We're all creative folks, so you can be quite creative. This is not a super formal event. The other key thing is talking about how are you going to talk about yourself and your work. So you're get to sit there at that table, stand at that table, and folks come up to you. What are you going to say? So thinking about some key talking points about your work when professionals are looking through your portfolio, they're going to ask a variety of questions. So some folks are super tech focused. I did architectural photography. Those folks are super technically focused. And so they might ask you a bunch of technical questions about how you made this picture or how you edited or retouched, things like that. So to be prepared for some technical questions. At the same side, you might have other folks that are just asking about the concept of your work, things like that. So it is helpful to be prepared for a variety of questions. So I think about like one end of the spectrum, super technical, how you actually created these images, and then also the idea behind it, just so that you're not stumped and you're like, I don't know, I just made it because it looked cool, right? You want to be able to talk well about your work. And then the other big thing about talking about yourself is an elevator pitch. I'm sure you've heard about this by now, but again, somebody comes to your table, how do you start that conversation? And it can look like a lot of things. So really thinking about who you are, what are kind of your key inspirations or what you're really into, what type of photography do you do? And then maybe an accomplishment, right? Like, who am I? I'm a photographer who does this, and I recently had a show here. Cool, now I get to know a little bit about who you are. Or who you are and kind of what you want to do. So for me, in this type of an event, what I think could be helpful is something like this, like, right, hi, I'm Rebecca, I'm an architectural photographer. I could add something about a recent project I'm into or something like that. But the very important and last thing I say is to start a conversation. So generally you're going to want to end this, your name, what type of work you do. Maybe you can fill something else in there. What do you want? I'm looking for feedback on my work. I'm looking for opportunities to exhibit my work. I'm looking to gain more experience assisting, digital teching, whatever. That is going to be super helpful because that's what this event is about. It's about feedback and it's about networking. But you got to put out there what you want because folks are not going to know what you're looking for. And that starts the conversation. Because if you just say, hi, I'm Rebecca, like that, I'm not really engaging in a conversation, right? You're kind of asking questions. You're asking for what kind of feedback you want. Again, this event, that's what it's for, is for feedback. But I think if you say, I'm looking for assisting jobs, cool. They're going to be like, actually, even if they don't know, if they're not looking for an assistant, they might be like, oh, well, give me your card and I'll give it to my friend, right? As photographers, we all know other photographers. So the whole point, even if this person is that you're talking to is not directly hiring or has any need for an assistant or whatever, they generally might know other folks that do, or might have suggestions of like, oh, my friend recently got a show here. They applied for this grant here. You should check out this website. That's another reason why you want that notebook. So you can write down all this great information these folks are sharing with you. So like I said, it's good to have this prepared your pitch. I know sometimes when you're like an event like this, people are coming at you all the time. That's why sometimes I think about condensing this to just like your name, what kind of photography you're interested in and what you want out of it, because you're going to repeat it. You don't want to kind of flub over your words, but whatever you feel comfortable with. But I think it's super helpful to kind of end it with what you want out of it. And then during the actual review, again, making sure you're taking notes. I think that's super helpful. People appreciate that, and it's okay to do that. The other thing is being open to criticism, right? They're going to get a variety of feedback on your work, because there's going to be so many different types of folks that you're going to talk to. So making sure that you are open to criticism as you do more portfolio reviews, you're going to write them out, all going to be glowing. And that's okay. That's just the way of life. That's how it happens. But just make sure that you can ask to clarify things if they don't agree. If you're like, they say, oh, you know what, I don't know if this image is strong, maybe you should take this out. You don't be like, I don't agree with you, but you can say, you know, can you tell me more about that? What do you think doesn't work about this? Why do you think that this stands out as not making sense in this body of work? You can ask clarifying questions. That is totally okay. That is a great thing to ask. But don't, you know, dismiss it, or kind of, you know, some folks, you might be a little sensitive. That's fine. But the biggest thing too is asking questions, right? Again, as they're looking through their work, they're commenting on things, ask those clarifying questions, ask them, hey, you know, I'm looking to do more portfolio reviews in the future. Is there anything you think I could improve upon? Is there something missing? Is there something that you wish that you could see more of? That's where sometimes the website comes into play, where they're talking like, oh, I really wish that you had more of this. You're like, actually, I do, it's on my website. But that's why it's good to kind of ask those questions. You can be very frank with them and ask, what would you like to see? What about this? Because again, they know you're a graduating senior. They know that you are just kind of launching your career and that you want as much specific feedback as possible. You also want to make sure that there are some quiet moments. This I've heard from a lot of professionals for portfolio reviews. I work with I'm on the board of APA, and we do a lot of portfolio reviews with art buyers, and they're always like, this is the number one thing, people fill the space and they don't let any quiet moments. That's not terribly helpful. Again, they are contemplating your work. So you can have your intro, you can ask questions, but don't feel like you just can't be quiet for a moment, and let them kind of digest your work and kind of think about what they want to comment or how they want to answer your question. That's a good thing. It means they're thinking it through. They're not just like, yeah, that looks cool, right? You want them to kind of contemplate your work. So allow for some quiet moments. And then at the end, make sure to thank them, right? Again, you want to get a card from them. You want to get their name and their website, some way to follow up with them. So get that information, thank them now, like in the end of that conversation, but also follow up with them in the next few days and thank them, reiterate whatever you had your conversation about. Because again, you could scribble that really quickly, like, oh, here's the photo editor of Chicago magazines here. He said he was looking for stories about this. I want to make sure I scribble that down so that I can follow up and maybe then give him a link to that gallery on my website. That even if he already saw it, I could be like, yeah, you know, I'm really interested. Here's that link to my website. It's a great way to follow up. So just don't forget to do that. It can be overwhelming. So if you're prepared and have all the things you kind of get in this process, people come to my table, I have this intro, they look through my work, we have a conversation, then I thank them and I make sure that I get their card or some way to follow up with them. Just kind of getting in that routine can be really helpful. Again, like I said, the thank you, always helpful, but just following up anything they said. If they suggested an artist, go check them out, give them a quick comment. People appreciate that, right? And those things can go far. Like I said, even if they're not actively hiring, networking is a slow burn. It doesn't happen right away. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you might get booked right away that next week, that next month. But a lot of times it's going to be about consistent interaction. So making sure that you listen to them, that you followed up with them right away, that's good. Also, find them on Instagram and LinkedIn so that you can continue to engage with them, right? Social media, whether it is LinkedIn or Instagram or any other platform, is a super easy way to stay in contact, liking their pictures, commenting occasionally, so that then a couple months down the line, when you follow up again, they're like, oh yeah, I've seen that name a few times. I met them once, they engaged with me online, and now a few months later, maybe they follow up again about something. That's going to be more helpful than I met you once, and then 6 months later, you're emailing me, asking me for a job. Right? Then they're less likely to remember you. So like I said, networking, if you want to do assisting, if you even just want to be, anything that's freelance, which is a lot of photography, a lot, especially commercial photography. If you do anything freelance, networking is essential. So that's what the whole point of this event is, to get feedback and to kind of launch you to have a broader network beyond Columbia. So it just takes some intention to think through it and to do it regularly. This is maybe even set reminders. So like, okay, every few months, I'm going to check back in with these folks, because again, it can pay off long-term, but you just have to kind of be consistent with it is often the most helpful thing. Oh, and last few things about you all are graduating. So if you haven't already heard this, 90 days after you graduate, your Columbia email gets cut off. And so be prepared for that. The biggest thing about the Career Center, right? You have full access to the Career Center 1 year post-graduation, but really, I will speak with alums more than 1 year out. I'm always happy to stay in contact with everyone. It makes my life a lot easier because I also get photographers reaching out for assistance, reaching out for freelance gigs. And so I love to be connected to you all, to be able to recommend you for other positions beyond graduation. But the thing right now, you all get those emails from me via Handshake. You all have access to Handshake indefinitely, even after you're cut off the 90 days. What you have to do is go into your Handshake account and just change your email from your Colum email to whatever personal email you check. And that way you will still get those emails from me every Wednesday. If you forget before those 90 days, say September, October, whenever you're like, oh shoot, I forgot to reach out. Just email me, just email them. Even if you don't have my email address, email the Career Center email address. We can go in and change it on your behalf, but ideally you'll do it yourself so that you just remember that you have Handshake. And that way you can still find those jobs, get those emails, see those resume or cover letter examples when you're like, oh shoot, I wish I would have done this. You still have access to all of that. And then the other thing about graduation is the Adobe Creative Cloud. So just like your Columbia, everything gets cut off throughout, I think, pretty sure the Columbia Creative Cloud as well, the Adobe Creative Cloud, 90 days. There are resources that you can extend your account for 1 year post-graduation. And I will send that link to everybody, but there's directions how to do it, how to migrate your assets over. But just to know, you can get 1 year, they say at a student rate. So that obviously you all are going to continue to use Photoshop. So that's really helpful. But just to kind of know the transition of graduation, what that's going to look like. And lastly, just kind of overview checklist. What do we need, right? We need to get your portfolio together, physical, digital. What is it going to look like? You're going to want to think about all your marketing materials. And then this is the last key thing. You want to meet with either Verser or I before May 5th, or by May 5th, I should say. We want to sit down with each one of you to make sure that you are ready for this, to make sure your portfolio is ready to go, that it's sequenced, you've thought through this. So we really want to make sure that you can do all of that. And then here is the schedule of the day. Starts at 10 o'clock. Be there at 9:30. Do not be late. I used to tell people to be here at 9, but I feel like maybe it's a little early. So don't show up at 10:05. Professionals are going to be there. You want to have time to get your stuff ready. You want to, like, if it's a warm day, to not be super sweaty, right? Give yourself time to settle into your space. The event runs from 10 to 12:30. And then there is the manifest parade, but also at 2 p.m. then you should come back to the studio for the reception and awards. Oh, and then the other note, this is what I put in there so I wouldn't forget. You can leave your work. So if you are a part of the portfolio review, there's also the exhibition show, like up on the walls in the studio space. If you're not a part of that, or if you want to leave your portfolio book, you can leave it for the rest of Friday and part of Saturday during manifest to be on display if you want, but the department's not responsible for anything. But just to let you know that you can leave your portfolio out if you want. All right, what did I miss first, sir?
I've got a few things to say, but Max got a question, I think.
Yes,
So,
Yeah.
How are we gonna be assigned to a partner with, on the table?
You are not assigned to anybody. You mean like who, like if you're gonna share a table with somebody?
Yeah, we can pick somebody.
Yeah, so there's just gonna be tables, and then as you come in, you pick wherever table you want.
Where would you get more information on the exhibition?
Ross does that.
yeah,
Ross-
but like what?
Like for the footprints and everything.
Oh, all of that's already out there. It's on the manifest website. So go to the photography resource page and there's a whole link there about everything, everything manifest. Cool.
Yes.
Um,
I'm sorry.
Before you do a lot of questions, I want to go through a couple things really quick. I know we're going a little bit later over time, but this is like really important. So I just want to throw this out to you really fast. So in no particular order, unlike Rebecca, I don't prepare myself. Well, I do, but anyway, I haven't today. So I'm going to just throw this out to you. So I would say that probably 90% of the people, 85–90% of the people who are going to show up there are not looking to hire a photographer. They're looking to hire an assistant or a digital tech. That's something you should expect. But that's the way this whole system works. And that's for me, in my opinion, that's the job that you should be looking for, not the job as a photographer. That'll come, but just sort of keep that part in mind. Your leave behinds are incredibly important. My suggestion is that I agree with Rebecca. I think postcard size is an ideal size. Do image on one side with no text, no type, no nothing else. Your contact information on the back side of that, which means you need double-sided paper to actually print this out. The reason that you want to do that is you want somebody to take your little postcard home and pin it up onto the wall in their office and keep staring at it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and then finally give you a call. They're not going to do that if you've got your name all this other shit all over your card, whatever. Don't do that. You're trying to make a small piece of art that they'll keep and actually, not throw away the minute they walk out. Your business card, really important. No physical addresses. You do not want people showing up to your wherever you live, whatever. You just don't want that. So no physical addresses on anything. That goes for your images, by the way. By the way, a lot of people actually are embedding their physical addresses in their JPEGs. That stuff never goes away. So 15 years from now, they're going to be able to figure out where you lived in 2023. I wouldn't do that. The thank you thing, Rebecca has harped on this over and over and over again. It's critical. My suggestion is that instead of doing what everyone else does, you do it snail mail. You actually find something, nice little piece of art, paper, write something out that actually makes sense and thank them, send it snail mail. That means you have their address. Anyway, goes right back to the notes that you have been taking during your whole conversation. So this is your job number one in this. It's not to get a job as a photographer. It's not to get a job as an assistant. Your job number one is to keep the door open for every single person that you have met. So your line as they are walking away from you is, I am constantly working. I've got a whole new thing. Refer to something that they seemed interested in. I've got a whole new thing in that water project that we are talking about, the stuff that you liked, whatever. I've got a whole new group of images that should be ready in 3 or 4 months. Can I please give you a call? Can I please shoot you an email? Can I please come by and show you this new work? You want to keep the door open. Rebecca has gone to all this work to get these people in front of you. And you, if you haven't done this yet, you're getting ready to find out just how difficult it is to get somebody to spend time with you to actually get access. Does that sort of make sense? So what's the most important thing that you can do when you're actually doing that access part? So I'm going to tell you from a person who actually has reviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of portfolios of prospective assistants and digital techs. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to spend a week in a car with you in the desert? I don't really care about your work. It's interesting to see, but what your portfolio really is there for is it's something to sit between 2 people that allows a conversation to happen over the top of it. So in that conversation, I'm trying to figure out, do I like Mac enough? Am I willing to spend a week in a car with him out in the desert, shooting pictures, whatever? No, but that's really what I'm trying to assess in all of this. Do I like this person? Are they funny? Are they going to fit with my crew? Are they a pain in the ass? Are they, can they drive a stick shift? I mean, those are the things that I'm trying to figure out. Do I care about your work? Sure, I do. Do I hope that your work somehow reflects an interest in mine? Because that's what I'm ultimately hoping that I can give to you, is some sort of idea about my work, that kind of, but that's what it's really about. So it gives you something to sit here and say, okay, we can have this conversation back and forth. A lot of you, this happens. How do you have a conversation? So I'm going to give you the key to it all. The conversation, the key to it all, how to keep it, how to start it. Although I don't want to gloss over the quiet moments. Those are really important. But by and large, the art of conversation, people like to talk about themselves. So if you hit that, so Mac, hi, I'm Versa Engelhardt. I'm so nice to meet you. I'm thrilled. Thanks for coming here today. I want to show you my work. This was, have a little conversation about my work, that kind of stuff. But at some point, I'm like, so Mac, what kind of work do you do? Oh, really? Like, only here in Chicago, or do you have gallery representation? What, I mean, oh, so where do you travel? Oh, where in California?
LA.
Oh, have you been in like there ever during like an earthquake or anything, or fires?
No.
Oh,
I always read all.
yeah, well, it's kind of a smart thing. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So do you think you'd move to LA ever?
Yes. No, but yes, for this conversation.
Oh, okay. So you can see how this goes. You just pick up and you turn it right back to them and you give them an opportunity to talk about that kind of stuff. It's the easiest thing in the world. So don't get flipped out about your conversational skills. Everybody in this room has them. Rejection. This whole business, again, I don't know how many of you have showed your work before, that kind of stuff, whatever. I've shown my portfolio. I tried to figure it out. What could it possibly be? And I thought thousands, and that sounded a little too extreme. So I did the math, and it's probably between, I don't know, 500,000 times I've showed my portfolio. You need to realize that 80%, 90% of the time, it's going to result in rejection. That's just how it is. Don't let it get to you. It happens to all of us. Don't let that bother you. Don't let that bring you down. For every rejection you get, there's going to be somebody out there who really responds to your work, and just keep that part in mind, right? And in the back of your mind, don't ever say this in the back of your mind, just say, I don't care about that person anyway. They have no taste. They have no idea what really good work is. Screw them, right? All right. Okay, I've got that. Got that. I've got that. I've got that. I got that. Notes. I got that. Okay. To the review. Well, I'm almost done here, guys. I'm almost done. The review part of this. So with Rebecca and myself, you can show up on the 5th of May with your portfolio completely done, and there isn't going to be a whole lot that we can do about it at that stage of the game. So yeah, did it work? Yeah, but am I really going to tell you that you've done it all wrong at that stage of the game? Of course not, because you've already done your portfolio. So at that point, it's really pretty pointless. So how many of you right now, not counting you guys online, but how many of you right now actually have your print book done? No, I'm going to say right now, that's an encouraging thing. So if you want to actually come see me and talk about, or Rebecca, and talk about sequencing, editing, that kind of stuff, this is my suggestion to you. Print out everything that you are considering for your portfolio on a 3x5 print. So every image that you're considering, just a little 3x5 thumbnail print. That's all you need, right? Bring that stack of prints in, make an appointment with one of us, bring it in. It's what gives us the ability to do a quick layout edit on a table and move stuff around really fastly. Don't bring prints in. That's not going to help anybody. You want small. They need to be good enough and large enough that you can really sort of see what it is. So don't come in with some postage stamp thumbnail, but playing card size will be perfect. But the sooner you can do it, the more time you're going to have. If there are holes in it, you actually have a time. Some of you might have time to fill those holes. What I'm saying is that, oh yeah, you only need one more image to actually complete this whole set, whatever. So again, the sooner the better. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Do not plan on printing your portfolio 2 days before. Do not think, okay, you guys have all been burned by the digital print center. Do not show up at the digital print center on Wednesday before is it Thursday or Friday?
Right.
Don't show up at the digital print center at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon before the review the next day and expect to be anything but woefully, hopelessly, desperately disappointed. Just throwing that out there. Set an artificial deadline for yourselves. I would do it a week ahead. That's what I would do. A week ahead from, so if Friday,
Friday before.
Yeah. Resume. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I think if you're pressed for time, resume is the bottom of your list. It's the last thing that people will be interested in. That's not to say it's not worth doing. It is worth doing. I'm merely saying that in the order of things, your portfolio is first and your leave behinds are just as important, because if you wow somebody with your portfolio and you have no way that they can then get in touch with you, you've defeated it all. Yes. Again, this goes back to branding, and that was something that I was thinking about earlier. It's the same thing for your leave behinds, all that kind of stuff. The higher quality that it appears to be, the more that reflects on you. And so, yes. Nice paper. Okay, really quickly. I need everybody to whip out their phone. And shoot a picture of this screen right here. This is a set of links. The one that's at the very top is this one right here. It's a 2-hour video, I'm not going to lie to you, but it is how to actually take a collection of images and turn it into an online portfolio and get it published up on Issue. I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a second. Right under here is, I've got a sample of, it's not really one of my portfolios, but portfolio-like up on Issue, so you can actually take a look at that. Prep for the portfolio reviews. This is sort of a condensed version of something that Rebecca had put together last year. I'll show you what that looks like. And then the PowerPoint. This is the link to the PowerPoint that Rebecca just showed you as well. She's going to be sending you stuff. I'm not, because I don't know. I don't know that. Do we have a collection of everybody who's?
I thought you sent that email.
I did, but
But
yeah.
it can be updated. I can update.
Okay, all right. Okay. So really quickly, we'll go to this link just because I want to show you what we keep talking about with Issue. And actually, there's an issue with my Issue. Well, that didn't get, so content warning. You would have figured this would happen for me. I don't know. So yes, I understand that some weird shit may be happening on here. Hang on 1 second. It's weird to do because I've got this whole, oh wait, I can get rid of that whole screen right there. So I simply put this together really quickly. I'm just going to show you a couple things. When you do your thing up on Issue, or you do a digital version of it, or you actually do the real print book, think about this like you think about an art book. So title part on the cover, no contact information here. You don't see all the contact information about your trip to Italy, that kind of thing here. So just keep that part. Opens up. Typically, I'll do a cover page on this side. Sometimes I'll actually do an overlay on this, sort of a ghosted out. So you'll know in a lot of art books, the first page you hit is almost like a dust cover for the images. You can play those sorts of games. Again, you're just elevating the experience of looking at a portfolio. The advantage of Issues is that you can give this on oh, it's interesting right here. You guys can see this too. One of the issues, well, that we'll get into. This computer projector has not been color corrected. My screen is. That looks beautiful on my screen. It looks like shit there. No, if this is going to happen to you in the way you show your stuff, you need to figure out how to get ICC profile support for all of your color and however you're going to show this. So if you're taking this to an iPad and you can't figure that out, we need to work that out before you're showing this work, right? So at any rate, but this allows for double spreads. It allows for borders. Again, I close this the same way I would close a book, even though it's electronic. This is where your contact information then happens. There is a back cover and it closes. You want that full experience. The advantage of Issue is that somebody can go through it themselves, which I think is a better experience than a website when you're trying to do this kind of work. Make sense? Can I do what? Oh. Okay, that's all right. Are there questions about any of this?
Versa, I have a question.
Yes.
All right, so
Somebody online.
I'm doing something digital. So
Okay.
what else would you recommend I have on the table since I'm just having a digital, you know what I mean, portfolio?
Yeah, so with the digital, in addition to that, you definitely need a leave behind and a business card, in all likelihood a resume as well.
Should I print off anything? You know what I mean? Should I try to mix
Your
them?
leave behind should be all printed, and your business cards need to be printed, and your resume needs to be printed.
Okay, all right.
So it's really having the stuff that you need to give to them.
Business cards here. You all have my email anyways, but if you want to reach out.
Other questions? Yes, sorry. It's tricky is what I'll say about that. It's not impossible, but it's tricky. So Blurb is the one that most people use, the one that I know. If you're really good with Lightroom, there's a direct link, or at least there has been. I haven't done it in a few years, but there was a direct link to send your stuff directly to Blurb. So the advantage of, so what you'll end up with, if you go through the video to prep your work for this, is you'll end up with a PDF of your book. And so the advantage of that is that, again, you can post this online in this format and it works great, but it's also something you can print. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. Sure. Any other questions?
For the day of manifest anything, what is the awards and reception? What is that for?
It's the last time that the photo faculty and photo graduating students will really be able to get together and say, it was great, goodbye. There are awards, I think, I don't know, it varies from year to year, so don't quote me on that one. But again, it's all in the experience of manifest. So it used to happen at the nighttime. We wanted to actually move it up so that it could be a whole part of manifest, and that, you know, and then you guys could just leave and go and, you know, hang with your family. So, yeah, cool. Other questions? Yes. Wait, in the 623, which gallery? Oh, typically, and I don't think it's going to be the case this year. Jay would know more. It's too bad he left. Typically, that's where they do the graduate review. It's what? Oh, so that's what's going to be up there this year. Yeah. Yeah. No, last year wasn't there though. Last year, the For Women by Women was in the. Yeah.
So the only printing portfolio that we're gonna have up on the wall is gonna be at the studio.
Yes. Yeah, that's where the manifest experience, and be happy. No, I'm just throwing this out here. I've seen this, the work hung in a gazillion different places over the campus, whatever. And this really, it's spectacular when it's done. And it's just you, it's just photo, it's really nice. Yeah. Anyone else? Anything? Anyone else on the Zoom call that questions, anything? I'm sorry, what? Yes. So shoot me an email. I will get my entire list of double-sided papers to you, and then I'll also get it to Rebecca so that she can get it out to everybody. We'll send a sort of a package out to everybody of things that resources for you. All right, are we good? All right, thanks for showing up, guys.
Yeah, you just email with other questions or whatever.
All right, you guys on the call are good, right? All right.
Yep. All right.
Hey, Amanda.
Oh,
Oh, dang it.
Hi, guys.
Thumbs up.
all right.